The stars above Earth twinkled like tiny diamonds on a velvet canvas. For centuries, humanity had dreamed of meeting other intelligent beings from beyond the stars. No one expected that when it finally happened, they would laugh at us. It started with a flash across the sky, a streak so bright it could be seen even during the day. People pointed their phones upward, capturing shaky videos as massive ships descended into orbit around the planet. These weren't sleek silver UFOs like in old movies. They were jagged structures made of dark metal, bristling with weapons and glowing panels. The largest ship alone was bigger than New York City. At first, everyone thought it was an invasion, but then a voice boomed over every television, radio, and internet connection worldwide. It spoke in broken English, slow and deep. "We are Threxian Coalition. We come, not to fight, to observe. You, primitive but curious species." Primitive? That word stung. Humanity prided itself on its achievements: space exploration, technology, art, culture. Sure, there were still wars and problems, but no one liked being called primitive. The Threxians didn't send troops or diplomats. Instead, they invited humans to participate in something they called an interspecies exhibition match. It sounded fancy, but the truth came out soon enough. It was a test. A way for the aliens to see if Earth was worth their time, or just another backwater planet full of weaklings. Governments scrambled to pick representatives. Soldiers, athletes, scientists, all kinds of people were chosen to show off what humans could do. The event took place aboard one of the alien ships, broadcast live to billions of viewers across the galaxy. Everyone wanted to watch. Some hoped humanity would prove itself. Others were ready to laugh at our failure. When the exhibition began, things went badly almost immediately. One by one, human competitors stepped forward to face alien challengers. There was a Brazilian boxer who got knocked out by a single punch from a 7-foot-tall lizard man. A Japanese karate master tried to use speed and precision, only to find himself paralyzed by some kind of psychic attack. Even a team of Navy SEALs armed with modern rifles couldn't hit their targets. The aliens moved too fast, dodging bullets like ghosts. By the end of the first day, humanity looked pathetic. Commentators from alien worlds mocked the humans openly. "Look how clumsy they are," one insectoid creature said through a translator. Another laughed so hard its antennae shook. "These creatures think they belong among the stars?" Back on Earth, morale sank. Social media buzzed with memes mocking the participants. Politicians argued about whether this humiliation meant Earth should surrender before things got worse. And yet, amidst all the despair, one man refused to give up. Lucas Gray wasn't famous. He wasn't rich or powerful. In fact, most people hadn't heard of him until he signed up for the exhibition. Lucas had spent years serving in the U.S. Army Rangers before leaving to pursue competitive martial arts. He specialized in ninjutsu, an ancient Japanese art focused on stealth, deception, and striking where the enemy least expected it. To outsiders, his choice seemed odd. Why practice skills designed for sneaking around castles when you lived in a world of drones and satellites? But Lucas knew something many others didn't. Sometimes the oldest tricks worked best. When asked why he wanted to join the exhibition, he simply smiled and said, "Let me show them what we're really made of." On the morning of his match, Lucas arrived dressed in black ninja garb. His outfit included a hood, mask, and tabi boots, traditional footwear split between the toes. Around his waist hung a belt filled with small pouches containing tools no one recognized. Over his shoulder, he carried a pair of old binoculars, which he claimed were for scouting. The crowd roared with laughter when they saw him. Aliens leaned over railings, pointing claws and tentacles at the strange little human. Reporters asked sarcastic questions. "Is this supposed to scare us?" one snickered. Another joked, "Does he plan to throw smoke bombs at us?" Even the human commentators struggled to take him seriously. "This is Lucas Gray," one announcer said, trying to sound enthusiastic. "He says he specializes in, sneaking. I guess we'll see how well that works against someone twice his size." His opponent stepped forward, a towering brute named Vrogak, Standing nearly 8 feet tall, Vrogak had green skin covered in ridges and spikes. His muscles bulged beneath a leather harness, and his teeth gleamed like polished ivory. He carried a heavy mace wrapped in chains, swinging it lazily as he waited for the signal to start. When the bell rang, Lucas didn't charge forward like everyone expected. Instead, he crouched low, moving sideways with quick, silent steps. Vrogak blinked in confusion, looking around for his opponent. Then, suddenly, Lucas vanished. "How did he do that?" one alien commentator exclaimed. Cameras panned wildly, searching for any sign of the human. All they found was empty space. Vrogak growled, spinning in circles. His mace whistled through the air, smashing anything nearby. Still, no Lucas. Then, from behind a pillar, a small object flew toward Vrogak. It landed at his feet and exploded in a cloud of thick gray smoke. The alien coughed, waving his arms to clear the haze. By the time the smoke dissipated, Lucas was gone again. "What is happening?" another commentator demanded. "Where did he go?" Minutes passed. Vrogak grew angrier, stomping around the arena like a child throwing a tantrum. The audience began whispering among themselves. Was this some kind of trick, or had the human chickened out? Suddenly, a blur darted across the edge of the camera's view. Before anyone could react, Vrogak let out a strangled cry and collapsed to his knees. Blood trickled from a shallow cut on his neck. Lucas stood behind him, holding a thin blade, known as a tanto. He hadn't killed the alien, he'd merely disabled him. The stadium fell silent. No one moved, no one spoke. Everyone stared at the scene in disbelief. A human, barely 5.5 feet tall, had taken down one of the strongest warriors in the galaxy, using nothing but stealth and precision. Then, chaos erupted. Aliens shouted and gestured wildly, demanding explanations. Human viewers back on Earth cheered, tears streaming down their faces. For the first time since the Threxians arrived, humanity felt proud. As Lucas walked away, ignoring both the cheers and the jeers, one thing became clear. The galaxy had underestimated Earth. And now, thanks to a man dressed like a ninja, they were starting to pay attention. The victory against Vrogak spread like wildfire across the galaxy. Videos of Lucas Gray's fight were shared millions of times. Aliens who had laughed at humanity now watched in stunned silence as the footage replayed over and over again. How could such a small, seemingly weak human defeat one of their strongest warriors? The answer was simple. Lucas didn't rely on brute strength or flashy weapons. He used strategy, patience, and skill, qualities many species had forgotten in their pursuit of power. Back on Earth, people celebrated. Social media lit up with hashtags like Ninja Power and Earth Rising. Politicians gave speeches praising Lucas as a symbol of human ingenuity. Even kids started dressing up in black ninja outfits, pretending to sneak around playgrounds and ambush imaginary aliens. For the first time in days, humanity felt hopeful. But Lucas didn't join the celebrations. After his match, he returned to a quiet corner of the alien ship where the humans were staying. There, he met with a group of Earth's top scientists and military leaders. Among them was Claire Reynolds, a brilliant but eccentric inventor known for her work blending ancient techniques with modern technology. Her lab looked like a mix of a medieval armory and a futuristic workshop, filled with gadgets that seemed half-finished, yet strangely effective. "You did well out there," Claire said, handing Lucas a cup of coffee. She had short brown hair and wore glasses perched on the tip of her nose. "But this isn't over, not by a long shot." Lucas nodded, sipping the drink. "They'll come at us harder next time. Stronger opponents, tougher rules. We need to be ready." Claire smiled faintly. "Good thing I've been working on some upgrades for you." She gestured to a table covered in tools and materials. On it lay several small objects, a pair of gloves reinforced with carbon fiber, boots designed for climbing walls, and tiny throwing stars coated in a shimmering silver substance. "What's this?" Lucas asked, picking up one of the stars. "Experimental nanotech," Claire explained. "If they hit flesh, they release microscopic bots that disrupt nerve signals. Non-lethal, but enough to paralyze an enemy temporarily." Lucas raised an eyebrow. You sure about this? Sounds risky. I'm never sure about anything, Claire admitted with a shrug. But desperate times call for desperate measures. Besides, if we don't push back, they'll keep laughing at us. As they talked, another voice joined the conversation. Maya Cruz stepped into the room, carrying a bow slung over her shoulder. She was tall and athletic, with dark hair tied back in a braid. Like Lucas, she had trained extensively in stealth tactics, though her specialty was long-range combat. Growing up in Mexico, she'd learned archery from her grandfather, who believed it combined focus, discipline, and artistry. They're calling it cheating, Maya said, nodding toward a screen showing angry alien commentators. Saying you used primitive tricks to win. Lucas chuckled. Let them say what they want. They can mock all they like, but results speak louder than words. Maya grinned, setting her bow down. Still, they won't let you compete alone anymore. Word is they're organizing a team event next. You'll need backup. That news didn't surprise Lucas. The Threxians wouldn't risk looking weak again. If they couldn't beat him individually, they'd gang up on him, or pit him against multiple opponents at once. Either way, he wouldn't face them alone. Over the next few hours, the group finalized plans. Alongside Lucas and Maya, 2 more members joined the team. Derek Lang, a Navy SEAL turned hacker, brought expertise in disabling enemy tech. His calm demeanor masked a sharp mind capable of solving problems under pressure. Isaac Park, a survivalist and parkour expert, completed the lineup. Born in Korea but raised in Los Angeles, Isaac could scale walls, leap between rooftops, and navigate any terrain with ease. Together, they formed Earth's first intergalactic strike force. Their mission wasn't just to win, it was to prove that humanity deserved respect. The next day, the arena buzzed with anticipation. Aliens packed the stands, eager to see how Earth would fare against new challenges. Rumors swirled about what awaited the humans this time. Some claimed the tests would involve deadly traps. Others whispered about psychic beasts bred specifically for combat. Whatever it was, everyone agreed it wouldn't be easy. When the event began, the announcer introduced the first trial. A race through a dense jungle filled with obstacles and hidden dangers. Each team consisted of 4 members, and the goal was simple: reach the finish line faster than anyone else. Failure meant disqualification. The starting horn blared and teams sprinted forward. Most charged ahead recklessly, relying on speed and numbers to overcome whatever lay ahead. But Lucas and his team took a different approach. They moved cautiously, scanning the environment for threats. Within minutes, they spotted motion sensors embedded in tree trunks and tripwires stretched across the path. While other teams triggered alarms and drew attention, Earth squad slipped past unnoticed. As they ventured deeper, the jungle grew darker and more treacherous. Strange creatures lurked in the shadows, their glowing eyes watching silently. At one point, a massive serpent-like alien lunged at Isaac, its jaws snapping shut inches from his face. Without hesitation, he grabbed a low-hanging vine and swung himself onto a nearby branch, leaving the creature thrashing below. Meanwhile, Derek hacked into the jungle's automated defenses, rerouting drones meant to attack intruders. Instead of targeting Earth's team, the machines turned on rival squads, creating chaos. Explosions echoed through the trees as competitors scrambled to escape. Maya proved invaluable during the second phase of the trial. The path narrowed into a series of cliffs, forcing teams to climb steep rock faces. Many struggled, clinging desperately to handholds while enemies fired projectiles from above. Maya stayed behind, covering her teammates with precise shots from her bow. Each arrow struck true, knocking adversaries off balance or pinning them to the wall. Finally, they reached the last stretch, a wide river teeming with carnivorous fish. Other teams hesitated, unsure how to cross safely, but Lucas had anticipated this. Earlier, he'd noticed vines hanging above the water, forming a natural bridge. With Claire's gloves enhancing his grip, he scaled the nearest tree and swung across, motioning for the others to follow. One by one, the team crossed, reaching the finish line before anyone else. As they stood together, breathing heavily but victorious, The crowd erupted into cheers and boos alike. Some aliens clapped grudgingly, impressed by the display of teamwork and resourcefulness. Others shouted insults, accusing Earth of using unfair tactics. But Lucas didn't care about their opinions. He glanced at his teammates, sharing a knowing smile. They had proven something important, not just to the galaxy, but to themselves. Humanity might not have advanced weapons or superhuman abilities, but they had something better: adaptability, creativity, and heart. Behind the scenes, however, tensions simmered. The Threxians weren't used to losing, especially not to beings they considered inferior. Whispers circulated among the alien leaders about escalating the competition. If humans excelled at unconventional methods, then the next challenge would require raw power and endurance, the kind of brutal combat that left no room for clever tricks. For now, though, Lucas and his team basked in their hard-earned triumph. Back in their quarters, Claire presented them with new gear tailored for future trials. "We're not done yet," she reminded them. "This is just the beginning." Lucas nodded, strapping on a fresh set of shuriken. "Then let's make sure they remember our names." The celebration didn't last long. Within hours, the Threxians announced the next trial, a high-stakes combat arena designed to test strength, speed, and survival skills. This time, there would be no hiding, no sneaking around. The rules were clear: fight until only one team remained standing. To make matters worse, the arena itself was rigged with traps, shifting walls, and automated weapon systems that targeted anyone who lingered too long in one spot. Lucas Gray and his team gathered. In their quarters to prepare, Maya Cruz sharpened her arrows, testing each one for balance and weight. Derek Lang tinkered with a portable hacking device he'd built, muttering under his breath about signal frequencies. Isaac Park stretched his muscles, practicing flips and rolls to stay limber. Lucas examined the gear Claire had provided, running his fingers over the reinforced gloves and boots. He felt confident but knew better than to underestimate their opponents. Claire herself bustled around the room, handing out last-minute upgrades. "These smoke pellets are laced with a reflective compound," she explained, dropping a handful into Lucas's pouch. "They'll confuse heat sensors and motion trackers, and these," she held up a pair of small earpieces, "will let you communicate without being detected." "Thanks, Claire," Lucas said, slipping an earpiece into place. "We'll need every advantage we can get." She gave him a tight smile. "Just don't die out there. Humanity's counting on you." When they entered the arena, the crowd roared. Aliens from dozens of species filled the stands, their colorful scales and shimmering exoskeletons glittering under the artificial lights. Some cheered wildly, others jeered, holding up signs mocking Earth's team. A massive screen above the battlefield displayed the names and stats of each competitor, complete with flashy graphics and dramatic music. The announcer's voice boomed across the stadium. "Welcome to the Arena of Shadows. Today our challengers will face not only each other but also the dangers of the arena itself. Only the strongest will survive." Lucas scanned the area. The floor was a maze of platforms, ramps, and narrow walkways suspended above a pit filled with glowing energy spikes. Every few seconds, sections of the arena shifted, forcing competitors to adapt quickly or risk falling to their doom. Along the edges, turrets swiveled back and forth, firing beams of light that burned anything they touched. As the starting bell rang, chaos erupted. Teams scattered in all directions, trying to find cover or higher ground. Most charged straight into battle, swinging swords, firing energy rifles, and shouting war cries. But Lucas signaled for his team to hold back. They crouched behind a low wall, observing the scene. "Look at them," Maya whispered, watching as two alien teams clashed in the center of the arena. "They're so focused on fighting each other, they're ignoring the traps." "Exactly," Lucas replied. "Let's use that to our advantage." He pointed to a nearby platform connected by a retractable bridge. "Isaac, see if you can disable that turret over there. Maya, cover him. Derek, keep an eye on those shifting walls. We don't want to get caught in a dead end." The team split up, moving with precision. Isaac sprinted toward the turret. Using his agility to dodge blasts of energy, When he reached it, he scaled the side of the platform and jammed a small device into its base. Seconds later, the turret powered down, giving them a safe path forward. Meanwhile, Maya climbed to a higher vantage point, drawing her bow. From her perch, she picked off enemies one by one, aiming for joints in their armor or weak points in their defenses. Her arrows flew silently, striking true before anyone realized what had hit them. Derek stayed close to Lucas, monitoring the arena's systems through his hacking device. "There's a pattern to the walls," he said, tapping furiously at the screen. "Every 30 seconds they shift clockwise. If we time it right, we can cut through to the central platform." Luxo nodded. "Good work. Let's move." They darted across the arena, sticking to the shadows whenever possible. When the walls began to shift, they timed their movements perfectly, slipping through gaps just as they opened. Other teams struggled to keep up, getting pinned between closing barriers or forced into ambushes. But the real challenge came when they reached the central platform. There, waiting for them, was a monstrous creature unlike anything they'd ever seen. It looked like a cross between a wolf and a scorpion, with 6 legs, razor-sharp claws, and a tail tipped with venomous spikes. Its eyes glowed red, scanning the area for prey. "Oh, great," Isaac muttered, taking a step back. "Did anyone read the fine print about giant alien beasts?" "We fight smart," Lucas said calmly. "Maya, aim for its eyes. Derek, see if you can hack its nervous system. Isaac, stay mobile, don't let it corner you." The creature lunged at them, its claws slicing through the air. Maya fired an arrow, hitting it square in the eye. The beast roared in pain, thrashing wildly. Derek worked quickly, connecting his device to a nearby control panel. Lines of code scrolled across his screen as he searched for a way to override the creature's programming. While they distracted the monster, Isaac used his parkour skills to lead it away from the group. He leaped onto a railing, then somersaulted onto another platform, drawing the creature's attention. Its tail whipped through the air, narrowly missing him as he ducked and weaved. Finally, Derek shouted, "Got it!" The creature froze mid-attack, its body twitching uncontrollably. Sparks flew from its mechanical components as Derek overloaded its neural network. "That should buy us some time," he said, wiping sweat from his brow. With the beast temporarily disabled, the team pushed forward. The final stretch of the arena was a gauntlet of laser grids and collapsing floors. One wrong move could mean instant elimination. Lucas took the lead, tossing smoke pellets to obscure their movements. The reflective compound inside the pellets confused the lasers, creating safe paths for the team to follow. Behind them, rival squads stumbled into the traps, their screams echoing through the arena. Some fell victim to the energy spikes below, while others were incinerated by the turrets. By the time Lucas and his team reached the finish line, only a handful of competitors remained. When they stepped onto the central podium, the crowd went silent. For a moment, no one moved. Then, slowly, applause began to ripple through the stands. Even the aliens who had mocked Earth earlier found themselves clapping, unable to deny the skill and strategy displayed by humanity's team. The announcer's voice broke the silence. "Against all odds, Team Earth has claimed victory once again. Who would have thought such unconventional methods could triumph in the arena of shadows?" Lucas glanced at his teammates, pride swelling in his chest. They had done it, not through brute force or advanced technology, but through teamwork, ingenuity, and sheer determination. But as they stood there, basking in their hard-won glory, Lucas noticed something unsettling. Among the alien leaders watching from the VIP section, a group of Threxian commanders exchanged dark looks. Their expressions made it clear this wasn't over, not by a long shot. Back in their quarters, Claire greeted them with a mixture of relief and concern. "You did amazing out there," she said, handing them bottles of water. "But I've been hearing rumors. The Threxians aren't happy. They're planning something big for the final trial." Lucas frowned. "What kind of something?" "I'm not sure yet," Claire admitted. "But whatever it is, it's going to push you to your limits." Lucas nodded, tightening the straps on his gloves. "Then we'd better be ready." As the others rested and tended to minor injuries, Lucas stared out a window at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, countless worlds watched Earth's performance with newfound interest. Whether they saw humanity as a threat or an ally remained to be seen. But one thing was certain. The galaxy would never look at Earth the same way again, and Lucas intended to make sure of it. The final trial was announced the next morning. The Threxians called it the Crucible, a deadly labyrinth designed to test every aspect of combat, survival, and teamwork. Unlike the previous challenges, this one would take place inside, a massive dome-shaped arena filled with shifting corridors, hidden enemies, and environmental hazards. Teams had to navigate the maze while fighting off waves of alien predators and automated defenses. The goal was simple: reach the center of the labyrinth and deactivate the core reactor before anyone else. Lucas Gray and his team gathered in their quarters to prepare. Maya Cruz checked her quiver, ensuring she had enough arrows tipped with Claire's experimental nanotech. Derek Lang adjusted his hacking device, making sure it could interface with the labyrinth's systems. Isaac Park stretched his legs, practicing quick jumps and rolls to stay agile. Lucas examined a map displayed on a holographic screen, studying possible routes through the maze. Claire Reynolds entered the room carrying a tray of gadgets. She handed each team member a small wristband. "These will help you track each other's locations," she explained. "If you get separated, they'll guide you back together." "Thanks, Claire," Lucas said, strapping the band onto his wrist. "Anything else we should know?" She nodded grimly. "The Threxians have been bragging about this trial. They say it's impossible to win unless you're willing to sacrifice everything. Be careful out there." "We will," Lucas promised. He turned to his teammates. "Let's review the plan. We stick together as much as possible, but if we get split up, regroup at these markers." He pointed to key points on the map. "Maya, focus on taking out enemies from a distance. Derek, keep an eye on the traps and turrets. Isaac, use your speed to scout ahead. And remember, don't let them corner us." The team nodded, determination etched on their faces. They knew this would be their toughest challenge yet. When they entered the arena, the atmosphere was electric. Aliens packed the stands, cheering and jeering as teams took their positions. The labyrinth loomed before them, its walls made of dark metal that seemed to pulse with energy. A countdown timer appeared above the entrance, ticking down from 10 seconds. As the timer hit 0, the gates opened and the teams rushed inside. Most charged forward recklessly, eager to claim the lead. But Lucas signaled for his team to hang back. They moved cautiously, scanning the area for threats. "Look," Derek whispered, pointing to the floor. Tiny sensors glowed faintly beneath the surface, ready to trigger traps. He tapped a few commands into his device, disabling them temporarily. "Good catch," Lucas said. "Let's move." They advanced carefully, sticking to the shadows whenever possible. The labyrinth twisted and turned, forcing them to make split-second decisions about which path to take. At one point, they came across a group of alien warriors locked in battle with a pack of biomechanical hounds. The creatures had sharp claws and glowing eyes, their metallic bodies shimmering under the dim lights. "Should we help them?" Maya asked, raising her bow. "No," Lucas replied. "Let them wear each other out. We'll slip past while they're distracted." Using smoke pellets, they masked their movements, slipping around the edge of the fight unnoticed. Behind them, screams echoed as the hounds tore through the alien team. Further into the maze, they encountered their first real obstacle, a wide chasm spanned by a narrow bridge. As they approached, the bridge began to retract into the wall. "Quick!" Isaac shouted, sprinting forward. He leaped onto the bridge just as it started to pull away, grabbing hold of the edge with one hand. With a grunt, he swung himself up and scrambled across, reaching the other side moments before the bridge disappeared completely. "Nice work," Lucas called, tossing him a rope. Together, they secured it across the gap, allowing the rest of the team to cross safely. On the other side, they found themselves face to face with a squad of insectoid aliens armed with plasma rifles. The creatures screeched, opening fire. Maya dropped to one knee, firing arrows with pinpoint accuracy. Each shot struck true, disabling weapons or pinning limbs to the wall. Derek hacked into the nearest turret, turning it against the enemy. The turret unleashed a barrage of laser blasts, scattering the insectoids and giving the team time to retreat down a side corridor. As they pressed onward, the labyrinth grew more dangerous. Walls shifted unpredictably, trapping slower teams in dead ends. Acidic pools bubbled beneath grated floors, dissolving anything that fell into them. Automated drones patrolled the halls, firing stun beams at intruders. At one point, Isaac noticed something odd, a faint humming sound coming from a nearby vent. He knelt down, examining it closely. "Guys, I think I found a shortcut," he said, tapping the grill. "It leads straight toward the center." Lucas frowned. "Are you sure? Could be a trap." "It's worth the risk," Isaac insisted. "We don't have time to waste." After a brief discussion, they decided to follow his lead. Using a crowbar, Isaac pried open the vent and crawled inside. The others followed, squeezing through the tight space as the hum grew louder. After several tense minutes, they emerged into a large chamber filled with glowing conduits and control panels. "This must be part of the reactor system," Derek said, inspecting the equipment. "If we can disable these nodes, it'll slow down the other teams." "Do it," Lucas ordered. While Derek worked, the others kept watch, ready to defend against any attackers. Suddenly, a loud clang echoed through the chamber. A massive biomechanical spider descended from the ceiling, its legs clicking against the metal floor. Its body bristled with weapons, and its red eyes locked onto the team. "Great," Maya muttered, drawing another arrow. "Just what we needed." The spider lunged at them, firing energy bolts from its abdomen. Lucas threw a smoke pellet, creating cover as the team scattered. Maya fired repeatedly, aiming for the joints in its legs. Isaac darted around the room, using his agility to avoid its attacks. Derek continued working, his fingers flying over the controls despite the chaos around him. Finally, Derek shouted, "Got it!" The spider froze mid-attack, sparks flying from its body as its systems overloaded. It collapsed to the ground, motionless. "Let's move," Lucas said, leading the way out of the chamber. They pushed forward, closer to the center of the labyrinth than ever before. As they neared the final stretch, they encountered their last major obstacle, a rival alien team guarding the entrance to the core reactor. The aliens were heavily armored, wielding swords that crackled with electricity. They blocked the doorway, daring anyone to try and pass. Lucas studied the situation carefully. "We can't take them head-on," he said. "We need a distraction." "I've got an idea," Isaac said, grinning. He climbed onto a nearby ledge, waving his arms and shouting insults at the aliens. The warriors turned their attention to him, charging forward angrily. Isaac jumped down, leading them on a wild chase through the maze. While the aliens were distracted, Lucas and the others slipped past, reaching the reactor core. Inside, a massive machine pulsed with energy, surrounded by panels and switches. Derek immediately went to work, trying to figure out how to shut it down. "How long do we have?" Lucas asked, keeping an eye on the door. "Not long," Derek replied, typing furiously. "They'll realize we're here soon." Moments later, the rival team burst into the room, roaring with fury. Maya fired arrows, holding them off while Derek finished his task. Sparks flew as the machine powered down, emitting a deep rumble that shook the entire labyrinth. "It's done," Derek shouted. The team didn't wait to celebrate. They sprinted toward the exit, dodging collapsing walls and falling debris as the labyrinth began to self-destruct. Behind them, explosions lit up the corridors, consuming everything in their path. When they emerged into the open air, the crowd erupted into cheers. Even the Threxians looked impressed, though their expressions remained guarded. Lucas and his Davam team stood together, breathing heavily but victorious. For the first time, the galaxy saw humanity not as primitive or weak, but as clever, resilient, and unstoppable. But as Lucas glanced at the Threxian leaders watching from the stands, he knew this wasn't the end. The galaxy was vast, and Earth's journey was only beginning. The victory at the Crucible changed everything. Humanity was no longer seen as a joke by the galaxy. For the first time, other species treated Earth with respect, or at least cautious curiosity. News of Lucas Gray and his team spread across star systems, inspiring memes, songs, and even fashion trends among alien cultures. Some called it the rise of the Shadow Warriors. Others simply referred to it as Earth's moment. But while the humans celebrated, the Threxians grew quiet. Their leaders retreated to private chambers, whispering behind closed doors. Something about their behavior unsettled Lucas. He had expected anger or frustration after losing so publicly, but instead they seemed calculating. It was as if the trials had been nothing more than a warm-up for something bigger. Back on Earth, humanity basked in its newfound fame. Governments held press conferences praising the team. Schools started teaching lessons on strategy, teamwork, and ancient martial arts. Even kids played games pretending to be ninjas, sneaking around playgrounds and shouting, "Headshot." But Lucas didn't join the celebrations. Instead, he spent hours training, reviewing footage from the trials and talking with Claire Reynolds. "We did well," Claire said one evening, handing him a cup of coffee. She looked tired but determined. "But you know this isn't over, right?" Lucas nodded. "I can feel it. The Threxians aren't done testing us." Claire sighed, leaning against the lab table. "They've been sending encrypted messages to other worlds. I intercepted some of them. They're planning something big, something that involves all of us." Before Lucas could ask more, an urgent call came through. A holographic message appeared in the middle of the room, showing a stern-looking Threxian commander. His voice boomed, deep and commanding. "Humans, your performance has earned you a place among the stars. But true worth must be proven not in games but in battle. A rogue warlord threatens peace across multiple systems. You will aid us in stopping him, or prove once and for all that you are unworthy." The message ended abruptly, leaving the room, silent. Lucas stared at the empty space where the hologram had been, his mind racing. "What does that mean?" Maya asked, stepping into the room. She carried her bow slung over her shoulder, her expression tense. "It means we're going to war," Lucas replied grimly. Within hours, preparations began. The team gathered supplies, reviewed maps of the affected regions, and tested new gear provided by Claire. This time there would be no arena, no rules, and no second chances. They were heading into real combat, alongside and against alien forces. The mission took them to a desolate moon orbiting a dying star. Its surface was covered in jagged mountains and endless fields of ash. The rogue warlord, known as Kragath the Devourer, ruled this wasteland with an iron fist. His army consisted of mercenaries, drones, and monstrous beasts bred for destruction. Rumors said he wore armor forged from the bones of his enemies and carried a weapon capable of tearing apart planets. As their ship descended toward the moon's surface, the team exchanged nervous glances. None of them had faced anything like this before. Even Lucas felt a flicker of doubt, but he pushed it aside. Doubt wouldn't help them now. When they landed, they joined a coalition of alien soldiers already engaged in fierce battles. Explosions lit up the horizon, shaking the ground beneath their feet. Screams and roars filled the air as fighters clashed under the dim red light of the distant sun. "This way," Derek said, pointing to a ridge overlooking the battlefield. From there, they could see Kragath's fortress, a towering structure, made of black stone, surrounded by layers of defenses. Anti-aircraft turrets fired continuously, forcing ships to stay far away. Ground troops struggled to breach the outer walls, only to be cut down by waves of enemies. "We need to get inside," Lucas said, studying the fortress. "If we can disable those turrets, the fleet can bombard the place." "And how exactly do we do that?" Isaac asked, raising an eyebrow. "Walk up and knock on the door?" "Not quite," Lucas replied with a faint smile. "We sneak in." Using smoke pellets and stealth tactics, the team slipped past the front lines, avoiding patrols and automated sentries. Maya picked off guards from a distance, her arrows striking true every time. Isaac scaled cliffs and leaped between ledges, scouting ahead for danger. Derek hacked into security systems, disabling cameras and unlocking doors. Inside the fortress, chaos reigned. Corridors twisted and turned, lined with glowing runes and pulsating energy conduits. Strange creatures prowled the halls, their eyes reflecting the dim light. The air smelled of sulfur and metal. At one point, they stumbled upon a group of prisoners, aliens, captured by Kragath's forces. The captives huddled together, trembling with fear. "You're free now," Lucas told them, cutting their bonds with a knife. "Follow the tunnels back outside. Help is waiting." The prisoners nodded, tears streaming down their faces. As they fled, Lucas felt a surge of hope. Maybe they couldn't save everyone, but every life mattered. Finally, they reached the control room housing the turret systems. Derek immediately got to work, tapping furiously at a console. "Almost there," he muttered, sweat dripping from his brow. Suddenly the door burst open and a squad of heavily armed mercenaries stormed in. They opened fire, forcing the team to take cover behind overturned tables and shattered equipment. "Maya, cover me," Lucas shouted, tossing a smoke pellet into the fray. The room filled with thick gray fog obscuring vision. Maya fired arrows blindly, listening for sounds of movement. Each shot found its mark, dropping enemies one by one. Isaac darted around the edges of the room, distracting the mercenaries and drawing their fire. Meanwhile, Lucas crept closer to the console, keeping low. When he reached Derek, he placed a hand on his shoulder. "How much longer?" "Just a few seconds," Derek replied, typing faster than ever. With a final keystroke, the turrets powered down. Outside, the Allied fleet seized the opportunity, launching a barrage of missiles at the fortress. Walls crumbled, and explosions rocked the building. "We need to move," Lucas yelled, grabbing Derek's arm. They sprinted toward the exit, dodging falling debris and collapsing ceilings. Behind them, the mercenaries regrouped, chasing after them. As they emerged into the open air, they saw Kragath himself standing atop a hill, watching the destruction unfold. His armor gleamed ominously in the red light, and his weapon crackled with energy. With a roar, he charged toward them, intent on revenge. Lucas signaled for the team to split up. "Distract him," he ordered. "I'll handle this." While Maya and Isaac fired arrows and hurled shuriken to draw Kragath's attention, Lucas circled around, searching for a weakness in the warlord's defenses. He spotted a crack in the armor near the neck, a vulnerability he could exploit. Timing his move carefully, Lucas threw a smoke pellet, creating cover as he closed the distance. He leaped onto Kragath's back, gripping the crack with both hands. Using all his strength, he pried it open, exposing flesh beneath. Then, with a swift strike, he plunged a tanto blade deep into the wound. Kragath let out a deafening scream, collapsing to his knees. His weapon fell from his grasp, sparking uselessly on the ground. Moments later, he went still. The battle ended shortly after. Allied forces secured the fortress, freeing prisoners and dismantling Kragath's army. As the dust settled, Lucas and his team stood together, battered but alive. For the first time, the galaxy truly understood what humanity was capable of, not just in skill or strategy, but in courage and compassion. And though challenges lay ahead, Lucas knew one thing for certain: Earth would never again be underestimated. The victory over Kragath the Devourer echoed across the galaxy like a thunderclap. News of his defeat spread quickly, carried by starships and communication networks to every corner of known space. For the first time, humanity wasn't just acknowledged, it was respected. The Threxians, who had once laughed at Earth's primitive ways, now spoke of humans with grudging admiration. Other species began reaching out, eager to learn more about this small but resilient planet. Back on our Earth, celebrations erupted. Cities lit up with fireworks and people danced in the streets. Politicians gave speeches praising Lucas Gray and his team as heroes. Schools added lessons about ninjutsu, strategy, and teamwork to their curriculums. Even fashion trends shifted. Suddenly, black ninja outfits became popular, and kids practiced throwing harmless paper shurikens in their backyards. But Lucas didn't join the festivities. He stood on a quiet hilltop outside the city, watching the horizon. The wind tugged at his jacket, and he felt a strange mix of pride and unease. Yes, they had won. They had proven Earth's worth to the galaxy. But deep down, he knew this wasn't the end. There would always be new challenges, new enemies, and new tests for humanity to face. Claire Reynolds found him there, carrying a thermos of coffee. She handed it to him without a word, sitting beside him on the grass. After a moment, she said, "You did good, Lucas. Better than anyone could have hoped." He nodded, taking a sip of the warm drink. "It doesn't feel like enough, though. We stopped one warlord, but what about the others? What happens when someone bigger, stronger comes along?" "They'll deal with it," Claire replied firmly. "Because of you, humanity has a seat at the table now. People are listening. That's a start." Lucas looked at her, then back at the horizon. "I guess so." In the days that followed, life began to return to normal, or as normal as it could be after such an event. Maya Cruz returned to her family in Mexico, teaching archery to local children while sharing stories of her adventures. Derek Lang went back to his lab, working on projects to improve Earth's defenses. Isaac Park traveled the world, training military units in parkour and survival skills. Each of them carried a piece of what they had learned into their daily lives, spreading the lessons of teamwork and resilience wherever they went. Lucas, however, stayed busy. He opened a small dojo in the forest, far from the noise of cities. Students came from all over to train under him, not just humans, but aliens too. Word had gotten out about the Earth Ninja, and many wanted to learn his methods. Some were curious, others sought strength. But Lucas accepted them all, teaching not just how to fight, but how to think, adapt, and survive. One day, as he led a class through meditation exercises, a holographic message appeared in the middle of the room. It was from the Galactic Council, a group of leaders representing various species across the stars. Their spokesperson, a tall insectoid creature with shimmering wings, spoke in calm but urgent tones. "Lucas Gray, your actions have earned you recognition among the stars. Humanity is invited to join the Interspecies Defense Pact. Together, we will protect the galaxy from threats both old and new." Lucas listened carefully, his expression unreadable. When the message ended, silence filled the room. His students stared at him, waiting for his response. Finally, he smiled faintly. "Guess we're not the joke anymore." Later that evening, Lucas met with Claire and the rest of the team at a quiet cafe. They discussed the invitation, weighing its pros and cons. Joining the pact meant Earth would have allies and enemies in places they couldn't even imagine. It also meant responsibility. Humanity would need to step up, contribute resources, and defend others when called upon. "We can do this," Maya said confidently, leaning forward. "We've already shown we can hold our own." Derek nodded. "And if we play it smart, we might even gain some advantages. Technology, trade, knowledge, we could learn so much." Isaac grinned. "Plus, think of all the cool missions we'd get to go on." Lucas chuckled, shaking his head. "You make it sound easy." "It won't be," Claire admitted, "but we've faced worse and we've got each other." After a long discussion, they agreed. Earth would accept the invitation, but on their terms. They wouldn't bow to anyone or follow orders blindly. If humanity was going to stand among the stars, it would do so as equals, with honor and integrity. The hour. Next morning, Lucas walked through the forest near his dojo, enjoying the peace and quiet. Birds chirped overhead, and sunlight filtered through the trees. For a moment, he allowed himself to relax, to breathe deeply, and let the tension melt. Away then, his wristband buzzed softly. A hologram flickered to life, showing a map of a distant planet. Alongside it was a message. "Urgent assistance needed. Rogue faction detected. Will you help?" Lucas stared at the message for a long moment. Then, with a slight smile, he tied his headband securely around his forehead and turned back toward the dojo. His students were waiting, ready to train, ready to learn. As he approached, one of them, a young girl no older than 10, looked up at him with wide eyes. "Master Lucas, do you think we'll ever see real aliens?" He knelt down, meeting her gaze. "Oh, I'm sure of it. And when you do, remember this. Don't let anyone tell you you're weak. Show them what you're made of." The girl grinned, clutching her wooden practice sword tightly. "Yes, master." Lucas stood watching his students spar and laugh together. Somewhere in the distance, a ship roared to life, preparing for departure. The galaxy was vast, full of wonders and dangers alike. But for the first time, humanity had a place within it, a voice, a role, and a future. And Lucas Gray intended to make sure they never lost it.